Tonight we're going to be examining the questions: are the New Testament documents reliable? Who wrote them and when? Do the gospel writers contradict each other in describing the different places that Jesus appeared to his disciples after his resurrection? Let's get to our debate, and here's the very first question that I asked. One thing that you wrote in your article is that besides saying we are dealing with accounts written not by eyewitnesses but by second-generation Christians, when we got to Matthew, you say, we find the almost certainly false story of the tomb guards who became like dead men. And you go on to say, if we dismiss this guard force from the historical record, if we dismiss it, we are left with the simple fact that Jesus' corpse was put to rest in a tomb that sat unguarded for approximately 36 hours, which is part of the basis that you go on to say that, yes, Joseph of Arimathea, he actually came and stole the body or took the body, put it someplace else. That's why the tomb was empty. But the only way you got to that conclusion was you dismissed the record in Matthew. And the fact is, as we were talking about the fact last week, if you find certain things that are copied over, you didn't like that. Now, here we've got Matthew who gives us information that you don't find in Mark, and you don't like that. Help me out here. Why is it?
Yes, I was interested in this. You had mentioned to me that you were in the military. What do you have against Roman guards? I mean, why are you eliminating these boys?
Okay, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Suppose that instead of sitting in Chattanooga here tonight, you're in Africa. You're a Christian missionary in Africa. You don't have the morning New York Times. You don't have CBS Evening News. You don't have the radio. The only way you hear about outside events are through magazines. Okay, here it is, a couple months after the inauguration of President Bush, and you want to find out what the inaugural was like. You get, so here comes one morning, bang. You get Time, Newsweek, U.S. News, and National Review. You read Newsweek, U.S. News, and National Review, and they talk about the inauguration. They say how President-elect Bush got up, he got dressed, he had breakfast, he went up Pennsylvania Avenue, went down Pennsylvania Avenue, and they give the whole story. It makes sense. Then you read Time magazine, and Time magazine says that as President-elect Bush was driving up Pennsylvania Avenue, there was an earthquake, and the earth opened up, and fire came out. And now what would you think? If Time magazine said something absolutely extraordinary that the other three didn't, would you say that, well, it probably happened, the other three just didn't mention it? Or would you say it probably didn't happen because these other three sources don't mention it? And of course, what I'm saying is that of the 26 books of the New Testament, specifically Mark, Luke, and John, they do not mention these guards. And not only do they not mention them, they present the events in such a way as the guards are precluded.
Oh, not in the slightest. You suggest in your article that had the guards been there, the women could not have arrived at the tomb in the manner in which the accounts say they did. But my gracious, this is a 3-day period. If the guards had been frightened out of their wits by the resurrection, they would have taken off, and by Sunday morning, the women are there and there aren't any guards. It's perfectly compatible. And since there isn't anything that goes against the cosmic order in having Roman guards around in a Roman province, we don't have any possible metaphysical ground for excluding them from the account.
Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, says that the guards were there when the women arrived. Am I incorrect? Or? Okay, so Matthew says the guards were there frozen as dead men when the women arrived. Now John has Magdalene go to the tomb, leave, Peter go to the tomb, leave, Magdalene come back, leave. Mark and Luke have the women, various numbers of women,
but
come
the women
and go.
came at different times. They didn't all come as a kind of committee on one single occasion in the course of
so
the events of Easter morning.
You're saying the guards were gone by that time?
Sure.
Well, that's not my understanding of Matthew.